now tuned in to the Free Play Media Podcast Network.
We are live, and it's just a solo chat today. I'll introduce our guest in just a second, guys. Big thanks to Barrel Beard and Tattoo Oil for sponsoring the show. It's We Are Live, uncensored podcast brought to you every week. Thanks to Barrel Beard and Tattoo Oil. All the way in from Los Angeles, our good friend, Josh Wolf. What's up, Josh?
How are you, man?
Doing very well, man. I feel like we chatted maybe on the phone last year at your last show that you did here in St. Louis. You're back. That means you did well enough to come back.
We did chat on the phone.
Yeah, you remember that.
Yeah.
You don't do many phoners for shows. Yeah.
And it was in the phoners that I usually do are usually they're like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, we've been talking on the phone for a little while.
This guy doesn't suck. Yeah. I'll put words into your mouth.
Yeah.
Well, shit, you do enough podcasting on your own, and I've heard you on, you're regular on Fighter and the Kid and hanging out with, are you and Callen dating? Like, what's the deal?
No, we don't date anymore.
Oh, it was amicable?
You know what? He's a little too strict with his diet.
I agree.
You know what I need? I'm going to need a bag of Skittles every now and then.
Here and there. You deserve it.
I think so.
Yeah.
I'll shower myself.
You walk in, everybody's kind of looking, ooh, who's this? What do we have here? Yeah,
I'm
you
gonna
deserve
taste
a
that
bag
rainbow.
of Skittles. That's
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the whole deal.
So he was tough on you then.
Callen?
Yeah.
No, he's a sweetheart.
He is. He's a great guy.
He's
We've
a
had
really
him on.
good dude. He's a really good dude.
He's a really nice dude, and I saw him at the Laugh Factory in LA, and watching him interact with people after the show out in that front bar area.
That's better than the show.
Is it the Improv? Who has the bar area right on?
The bar is the Improv.
Has to be the Improv then. Yeah, seeing him interact with people. I see why you guys are buddies. And let's talk about Bryan Callen for the 3 hours.
He's
of this show.
But his energy is like so amazing. It's crazy I don't know how he keeps it up the entire, like he's not
dips. 23 either.
No, he's not.
Despite the nickname.
Yeah, the kid. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. I think he's got shoes that are 23 years old.
Right, probably so.
So, yeah, no, but his energy is great, and he's so funny, and I'm so happy that he's fine. Look, he's been successful working in Hollywood for years.
Right.
I'm happy that he's finally getting his due.
He is, too, because, you see people like him that dude from Old School, or he had bit parts here and there or whatever. It's great to see him expand. But more to you. So you're at Helium Comedy Club all weekend long here in St. Louis.
Yeah.
You're not just here to hang out and chat with me.
I did fly in just for the show, but then the Helium was nice enough to say, since you're here, do you want to?
I didn't want to tell you. I mitigated some of my costs to bring you out by having them. They're kind of shoulder some of that bill burden.
I appreciate that. And I will tell you something. I don't think I've ever seen a mic quite set up like that one.
So. We go from
really like
opposites.
you don't need so much of that mic stand. It's
right?
Crazy.
Isn't that just awkward? I have the small one over here. I think I'm compensating by using the giant mic stand.
Yeah, it looks like a crane.
It does, and I'll say this: do
you also drive a Camaro?
Used to Mustang convertible now. Why?
Yeah. No,
why do you ask?
Got it.
It's kind of strange.
Yeah, I'm in a Colby. I get
it. I would say the drastic disparity from where we record sometimes to here, hilarious.
When we walked into that other place, I was like, "Oh, this dude is balling."
These guys are doing it right. We have people asking like, "Oh, I'm gonna literally Tom Green and Marlon Wayans like, oh, I'm gonna do this in my house. Like, I'm gonna set this up." You walk in here and you're just like, old folks home. Like, what's going on?
This is a little more sterile.
Quite.
Yeah,
that's the motif.
This feels like a hospital room. This
it does.
One here, yeah.
I'm about to deliver some really rough news.
This actually seems like an office where you see. What I like is you get this desk, right? But then there's that desk. You don't know what happens over there.
Right. That's the wild
This
desk.
is like, whoa, I know what happens here, but what happens there?
We'll get to that in the later part of the show.
I think it's really funny that they probably decorated the room and they were like, what are we going to put here? We just put another desk.
That's the beauty of it. You have radio stations shutting down everywhere. You have big FM powers, that's fine. If you want to own your own show, which is what we do for our morning show, and you want to control everything, you find a shell that has broadcasting, and then you give yourself some legitimacy for your podcast, things like that. So you kind of
Is
settle
the
for that.
2-desk thing in the contract, or was that something a bonus that they did? Were you like, hey, I'm going to need a second desk?
I don't want to get into contractual details
Yeah,
with you.
yeah,
I think
probably
you're
good
you're prying a little bit at this point.
I just want to know how, what you got to do to get that
trying
second desk.
to jock my style a little bit, huh?
There's a lot of times where I'm like, what else can I get? I'll ask my agent, hey, put a second desk in my rider. They'll throw another desk in the green room.
Right. This is kind of awkward because Alberto, who's a manager at Helium, is here, and now he's privy to your negotiating information, which you don't typically want that to happen.
Just so here's the way I was thinking.
Snuff him out.
Are you ready? No. What I'm doing is this. I'm letting him. I'm pretending like I don't know he's here.
Right.
I'm pretending
Play
like
ball.
I'm not even acknowledging he's here. Right.
Correct.
So he can go back and be like, man, I heard that Josh Wolf wants a second desk.
God, how do we use that to our advantage?
How do we get a second desk in there before the show? I don't want. Listen, what if I walk on stage and the first 10 minutes I do is about how these cheap MF? Can I swear in here?
You can. Let's go. Let's
cheap
go.
Motherfuckers
Right.
would get me a second desk in my green room.
It's
On top of that, you know what I like in that top drawer?
Right.
Yellow M&Ms. Second desk, top drawer, yellow M&Ms.
And especially with all the theatrics and pyrotechnics involved in your stage show, you have to make sure that they're reading the contract.
I often say that Cirque du Soleil really took a large chunk out of my act that I just can't use anymore.
It's embarrassing because they flaunt it too. Everybody knows they ripped it from you.
Yeah,
and they continue to just roll it out.
I used to close, the asshole, my asshole and my nose bit, which was killer.
It was a good bit.
It was a bendy bit. You know what I mean? People are like, can he really do it? And now it feels like Cirque du Soleil is just taking that entire.
And that obsessed me. We're jumping a little far ahead in the interview of what I wanted to get into with the asshole
and the nose.
Yeah.
Right.
If you see my notes
on your
here.
notes, yeah.
It's
weird you had that at 6.
Right.
It seems you'd push that up a little
highlighted.
higher.
Well, you have to build into the asshole nose thing. But hey, Josh, I get it. You're a podcaster. If you want to tell me how to do my job, that's fine, man.
I do a podcast with a guy named Freddie Prinze Jr.
I've heard of him. Whenever I took care of myself and was a high school athlete, I was mistaken for him a time or two. 70-ish pounds heavier. Tell Freddie, take a picture.
Yeah.
Freddie, this is you if you live in the Midwest and stop being athletic.
Okay, I just want to let you know. I just came from doing morning radio shows.
Okay.
So I thought take care of yourself was a euphemism for jerking off.
Got it.
So I thought you were about to tell me a story about you jerking off to Freddie Prinze, and I was going to be like, I can't wait to tell him this story.
Again,
how awkward it was that I sat down with some dude and be like, when I take care of myself, I'm like,
yeah.
whoa, you sure you want to say this out loud? Like, is this live? Are you sure you want to say this out loud?
Yeah. No. Health. Like, actually, yes.
Listen,
I would masturbate to Freddie Prinze Jr. I mean, if it's
why wouldn't you? When you look at young pictures of Freddie Prinze Jr.,
man.
I call him Mr. Steal Your Girlfriend. I'm like, look at a picture of Mr. Steal Your Girlfriend. He's
That's
like,
appropriate.
He was handsome.
And is he in jiu-jitsu? Is he into the jiu-jitsu game?
Freddie is such an all-around Renaissance type dude that I had no idea. First of all, the nicest guy in the world. Incredibly funny. Has so many great stories, man. Not only of his career, but his dad was. For those of you who don't know Freddie Prinze, there's no
Get
George,
fucked. Number one.
Yeah,
right.
There's no George Lopez. There's no Paul Rodriguez. There's no Carlos Mencia. There's no Hispanic comic that you're thinking about without Freddie Prinze, without a doubt. And so he's got these great old Hollywood, new Hollywood stories. I think he's a purple belt in jiu-jitsu. I think he's
I like when people like Freddie Prinze Jr. could fuck your world up. If you've ever done any type of jiu-jitsu or not fought, a seasoned white belt will fuck your world up if you don't know what you're doing.
He's a better boxer than he is a jiu-jitsu guy.
That's great. I love that Freddie Prinze Jr. can mess somebody up.
Would.
Like 100,000 million%.
So I went, he trains with a guy named Wayne McCullough.
Yep.
And Wayne was a world champion. I think a lightweight. I forget.
You hear him all the time with Brennan Schaub.
Wayne?
Yeah.
Oh,
right?
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. So I go in there to train with him. And
you hold the mitts or clean up the floors?
That was after that.
Okay, gotcha.
And, so I went in and there was I said, I want to spar. And Freddie goes, come down to the gym. I'll find you something to spar with. So we go and there's this little we show up, and there's this woman who's about 120 pounds.
Sure.
110 pounds. And he goes, you're going to spar with her. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to hit a girl. And she was like, you're not going to hit me. Which I thought she meant, you're not going to hit me because you're too polite. What she meant was, you're not going to hit me because I'm way too good of a boxer for you. So we boxed for 3 minutes, which was 1 round.
Yep.
This is on Freddie's Facebook Live. This is on Freddie's Facebook page. Now, it's a couple months ago, but I think we counted that she hit me 118 times. 118 times in 3 minutes. Now, they didn't, it wasn't like they heard, but
It was
I
so
winded.
kind of you, though, to not
I
want to
Clubber
box.
Langed her at one point in time. Do you know, like, when Clubber Lang throws Rocky back in to get her
Yeah.
breath?
Yeah, that's what you do.
She was hitting me. I was like, I got to Clubber Lang you. I'm sorry. And I just moved her out of the way.
Right.
And
Like, this is getting really,
my
really
brother was like, did
embarrassing.
you start hitting her? I'm like, no, I ran to the other side of the ring to catch my breath. So she crushed me. And there was 1 or 2 times where I was like, I'm going to have to throw a jab just to back her up.
Right.
And I did. So the next time we went down, I brought my son. I'm like, I'm going to spar with my son. And Freddie
How old's your son?
He's 19.
Yeah.
So and 6'3". And he beat the shit out of me.
Harrowing moment for a father has to be.
Oh, well, I told him.
You take care of yourself too. You're not a chump dad. You're kind of cool dad.
In the ring, he's got me.
Yeah.
If it got to the point where we got on the ground, because I'm still stronger than him.
Okay.
But he.
Are you though?
Yes.
Okay.
But for 30 seconds.
Okay.
Because then old
It's
man
over.
strength lasts for 30 seconds.
I gotcha.
And then you're like, I am so tired. 3 minutes. He's peppering me. His reach is like, dude, killing me. Pop, pop, pop.
Yeah.
Pop, 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 pop. So at one point, I thought I was going to throw up. So
on top of your son,
I was
tossing him.
winded. I was just like breathing heavy, and I have a mouthpiece, so I can't get a full breath. I get the headgear, and I lean into him, and I'm about 220 in, and I don't want to quit. So I say to him, "Hey man," and we're in the clinch right now. I whisper to him, "Hey man, just give me a breath here. I think I'm gonna throw up." And he starts peppering me in the stomach.
Yeah.
Afterwards, I'm like, "What was that?" I go, "We're buddies." He was like, "Yeah, but that was for when you grounded me for the summer."
Right,
That was
right.
He said, "Everything I'd ever wanted to, you had headgear on."
Yeah.
And I said, "You hit me harder a couple times." And he was like, "Yeah, you had headgear on." But he peppered me.
Yeah.
Both those fights are on Freddie's Facebook page, and they were
Check that out.
humiliating.
So tell me about the podcast. What made you jump in with Freddie?
Freddie
Other
came-
than just he's an interesting guy.
Freddie came on my podcast that I do solo called
Yep.
Fairly Normal. And that podcast for me, I don't publicize it a lot. It's more for me. I talk to people I find interesting. I do a lot of solo podcasts, which are more like diaries.
Sure.
And it's just like it's a really cathartic, therapeutic place for me. I had Freddie on. We had never met before in person. We had met on Twitter. And it was just like, I think it went almost 2 hours, but it seemed like 8 seconds.
It just whips through. How great is that too when you hit that and there's a thing that just when you're talking to people and you do it as frequently as you or I do, you know that gear I'm talking about too, where you're just like, okay,
This is so easy.
yeah, it's phenomenal. And then it kind of reminds you why you want to do it too.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't feel like you're looking at the clock. Radio, you will look at the clock sometimes. You're talking to somebody boring. Podcasting though, you have the right person, just breeze.
He told me some crazy stories. He told me stories about, reconciling with his dad's death. His dad died when he was a baby.
Yeah.
And visiting his dad's grave, and some just really crazy stories. And some great stories about his dad, and some great stories about him, and filming She's All That, and I Know What You Did, and all that stuff, right? So we go through all this stuff.
How old was he too when he was doing that stuff? Early 20s,
90s,
maybe?
Yeah.
That's
So-
a crazy place to be at that age. Sorry, yeah.
Unbelievable. And Mary and Sarah Michelle, who at the time was arguably one of the best, one of the biggest stars in the world, right? So we talk, and we're walking back down my driveway, and I said, "Hey man, that was great." And he said, "That was really great." And
And not the fake,
No.
hey, that was nice.
No,
it was like
great.
you're going to say to me when this is done, like, hey, great podcast, Chris.
right, but
Right.
I'll do that as I'm walking out, and you won't see my face. So that's how you'll know that I
Right.
don't really mean it.
That's fair.
Yeah. We were facing each other,
Right.
It's one of those where the door's shutting. Thank you.
Yeah, catch you next time through.
About 5 minutes after he left, I texted him, and it's Freddie. I don't know him. I know he's probably got 1,000 people hitting him up all the time for shit, and I'm sure over his career he's had 1,000 people hit him up for shit.
For real.
And I just said, "Hey, And I hope I'm not misreading this, but I had a really good time, man. I would love to podcast with you. I really think we could do something. And he said, I think the same thing. That was it.
It's not. I went through a very similar situation with the show I do. Are you familiar with Ian Bagg?
Yeah.
You know him?
Yeah.
We do a podcast together, and we kept texting. So he kept like, hey, he had a question. I'm like, wow, this is a big deal. This guy is the funniest guy on the planet. Why is he bugging me? And then you hit that. We're like, no. It was fun. How do we make this work? And it's embarrassing. It's not unlike dating. Or like, you want to grab a beer or something?
Yeah.
I mean, it was nice, right? And you're a little bit vulnerable.
Well, that awkward for like when I sent that text, I remember asking my wife, how should I do this? I mean, do I just send the text?
And she's like, Freddie Prinze, I'll fucking do it.
Yeah.
Take a seat, Joshua.
I'm going to send a couple pictures first. Just No, but I was... He's exactly right. You're asking somebody out on a permanent date.
Right, because you're going to sit in a room with them at least once a week. Do you guys do guests? I apologize, I haven't heard it.
We haven't done any guests because we haven't needed it yet.
That's awesome, and you just hit that. And it's also a pain, too, especially in your world. And in L.A., access is amazing. Proximity is amazing. You have, on a whim, you could text somebody, even if you're just, I don't know, a producer for a major show, would come be a guest on your podcast. At the same time, good people are super fucking busy, and it gets really old. Hey, man, you got time to spend an hour and a half, and then driving where you're at, there's another hour for your commute both ways.
I try. So on my fairly normal, there are a couple people who are like, they're listed off. Like, I always say, why don't you have this person on this person? I go, because they're on everybody's podcast.
True.
And so, not that they're not good. They're great. That's why they're on everybody's podcast.
Sure.
So for me, sometimes I just try to find different voices, which is why I do a lot of them by myself. The one with Freddie, we haven't needed other people. Last podcast, I think we spent 20 minutes arguing because I say Silver Surfer has no dick. He's got no dick. Right. And Freddie was not happy with the Silver Surfer.
Freddie, calm down. Okay.
Here's the deal. For Silver Surfer, zero penis.
Right.
Zero penis. He's not wearing an outfit.
It's not debatable.
Is he wearing an outfit?
No.
He's not wearing underwear. He doesn't have his underoos on.
He's attempting to hang brain.
Zero dick.
No brain.
If he's tucking, he's putting the lotion in the basket, and that's not good either.
Right.
Zero dick Silver Surfer. Freddie was not having that. And yesterday on Twitter, enlisted some help from people at Marvel. The person who writes the Silver Surfer comic book tweeted us.
This is why it's good to be you. Like, this is like, hey, some people of note are talking about this.
And I was like, they were like, he's definitely got human. When he takes that off, I'm like, take what off? That's not an outfit.
Right.
And then I just wrote, prove it. Show me a picture of a Silver Surfer's dick.
In a comic, too.
Yes.
Like,
don't just show me his dick.
I just drew this.
Yeah,
no.
he's an artist. He's going to show you. No, I need to show
Josh Wolf knows dicks.
Yeah.
He'll know.
You don't think I've been in a locker room? I've seen a silver dick before. I don't know what that means.
I don't know. Yeah. So I think that's something you would see like in one of the hallways here, right? A silver dick, right?
But that's my thing. So but we go from everything, man. You know, we're both parents, so we have this parenting stuff. We're both in the business. There's that. He's a comic book nerd. He's a Star Wars nerd. Yeah. He's a Marvel superhero nerd. MMA guy, like he knows he's got a best-selling cookbook. Dude knows. Not kidding.
I want to do a podcast with him. That's fantastic.
Everything. And then there's me. I just know dick jokes. I know who doesn't have dicks. I know who does have dicks.
You like to confuse people. Like, is he country? Is he SoCal? What is he?
It's so funny that people really do consider me. Like a lot of people are like, well, you're from the country. I'm like, I'm from Massachusetts.
You did a show on CMT.
I did a
Is the whole reason people say that, right?
It is. You know, and you know what I think it is that I do feel like I have more of a blue collar feel than I do, say, an LA or a New York feel. Like LA.
You've experienced some shit too. I mean, like young father. The stories with Joey Diaz watching your kids are that's ridiculous. My fucking favorite, by the way.
Yeah.
And yeah, so you see, I think, and this isn't knocking people from California either. People associate, having zero real life experience where, you can bring that to the table. So I don't know if it's in your demeanor or what, but Massachusetts, I mean, that's blue collar, right?
Yeah. No, I grew up and I didn't grow up with any money, and I didn't grow up in Boston. I grew up in a smaller town, and
Did you lose the accent, or did you ever have
never
one?
had it.
Yeah.
Never had it. And I think that having kids, right? Having kids young just gave me perspective on everything.
My parents have their shit together. They had us real young. You either that is the point where you're either going to figure it out or you're not, right?
Well, you have to also, as a young person, and I can only speak for young men. As a young man, you're incredibly selfish. And why not? You grow up your entire life only having to think about yourself, right? So when the kid comes, it either makes you a better person or it makes you go, wait, what about me? And
right.
It makes you go, wait, what about me? You shouldn't have had a baby.
It's over.
It's over. And that's the thing. When another human being shits on you, and your instinct isn't to punch that motherfucker right in the face, you've made the right step.
Good to see that. Yeah.
It is. You've made the right step where you're like, no, that's funny. No, that's not funny. That's human feces.
That's terrible.
That's the worst. I've always said stepping in human shit way worse than stepping in dog shit. You ever stepped in human shit?
I believe I have, probably. Yeah.
Makes you want to cut off your lower half of your body. It's the worst thing.
There's a different texture to. I grew up literally like on a farm, and I could pick out human shit if I stepped on it. There's a different feel to it.
Yeah, there's because also if there's human shit outside, there's a little desperation sprinkled on it.
Yep, absolutely.
There's a little.
Yes,
there's a little sadness. There's a little sadness.
Lack of hope, no future. For sure. That permeating.
Yeah, that smells like despair.
Yes.
Like that's not good. But can I tell you? So, my brother, this to me. Now I had 3 older brothers. I grew up getting pummeled. But there's one thing that I have on my oldest brother that he'll never have on me, and I always throw in his face, is that he stepped in my shit. I'm like, oh, he's gonna be like, yeah, I got a bigger dick than him. I'm more talented than him. He stepped in your shit. We went golfing, right? I was 8, and it was one of those situations. I'm like, I gotta go to the bathroom. I gotta go to the bathroom. He's like, what? I go to the bathroom. He's like, go to the bathroom. So I went in the woods and I took a shit, and that was the hole was going. Let's just say the hole was going north. Well, a couple holes later, we're going south, but across the same woods. And my brother hits his ball in the woods. And I hear, motherfucker! Shooing his hand. I stepped in your shit. I stepped in your fucking shit. And I was 8. I was
as an 8-year-old. Yeah.
Howling laughing. Listen, I knew that I was about to take a beating, but worth every bit. I didn't even take a beating. For some reason, he must have just...
He tapped out for that day.
Yeah, I think I stole his spirit.
I think at a certain point, does he have a birthday coming up?
In March, yeah.
In March, okay. So you just get a shirt and you just get like a hand holding up the shoe to commemorate the day.
I might just make him a shirt that says, you stepped in my shit.
You stepped in my shit. There is that more subtle approach that you've brought to the table as well.
But you're right. I'm sorry. Subtlety is not my...
I didn't think so.
That's not my... that's not my...
Forte? It's not really your thing. So, okay, so you're going to be here all weekend. We got to keep that pounded. People, go see Josh at Helium all weekend long. How much time are you spending on the road these days doing stand-up dates?
Well, I'm really trying to pare that down a little bit. I'm shooting my special October 17th in Boise.
Congratulations, man.
Thank
in Boise.
You. Yeah.
The hub of comedy specials. Chappelle's shooting there in 3 months.
I have to tell you, people have asked me repeatedly, say it again. Why Boise? One more time.
Like, you could even get away with like St. Louis. Like, oh, there's a Fox Theater. You've got, there's some history. There's a lot of comics come from here. Boise, I'd be like, do you have a rafting trip scheduled around this? Like, what's going?
Some sort of are you not allowed to film anywhere else?
Right.
I can tell you why.
I'm Mormon.
LA. I want 7 wives. LA for me is the worst market.
Nobody will cut. That's horrible for somebody like me. If I go visit, I can call in favors. It's a bunch of cool people that I don't deserve to have come out to a live show. 30 people will probably show up if I have A-listers for a live show. I mean, you can get people out, but nobody cares.
Nobody cares, and everybody's looking for a handout, and everybody wants something free, and I'm not one of the cool kids, man. I've never been one of the cool kids. When I say the reason people think I'm country is that's I just put off not an LA kind of vibe, and I'm not knocking LA,
which is a good thing,
right? So I tried to find a place because I'm going to be doing some material in this special that has never aired anywhere before. But if you've seen me live, you've seen it.
Yeah.
So Boise is a place that has I went up and visited some friends there and my son, and it has a very blue collar feel, man.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, this is where I'm going to do it.
Right.
And
but it's not hokey blue collar either.
It's
you know what I
real.
mean? It's not bullshit. Like, what are we gonna do with the?
It's real. And the one thing is they're not so weed friendly.
Interesting. Is that because of the religious influence? You
I
think?
don't know.
I was about to say, isn't it kind of like Colorado Junior now, like with all the outdoor stuff, but no weed?
Yeah. So that's
strange.
That's the big part of Colorado for
you
me.
could probably kill any animal you wanted in Idaho and any amount of that animal, but they won't let you smoke weed.
Well, what'll happen is is I'll probably bring up a couple of edibles.
Okay.
Because that's how I like to roll.
Sure.
I'm an edible gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll just go from there. You know, they just look like Tootsie Rolls.
Of course.
And I did dose myself a little too heavy on the plane last night.
Okay. Does that go into an anxiety place for you at that point?
No, I'm past that.
Yeah.
It goes. See, I like the feeling of I have no idea what's about to happen.
You embrace it.
Some people, if you don't like that, then you shouldn't take an edible.
Agreed.
I like the oh boy, oh no, I don't know what's gonna happen.
Time slows way down.
I said to the guy that I sat down next to last night because I could feel myself getting higher than I thought I was gonna, and I said, "Hey," I take my earbuds out, and he goes, "Hey," and I go, "I just want you to know my name's Josh," and he said, "Oh, okay, Mike," and I go, "I just thought you should know my name," and he was like, "Why?" I'm like, "I don't know what's gonna happen in this flight."
And he's like looking at you like
he started to get nervous.
Terror, like, yeah, what's happening
He
here?
said, "What do you mean?" I go, "Listen, if you see me banging my head a little bit, not banging my head, but like
yeah.
I listen to music, I got a little high." And he goes, I'll be out soon too." And I said, "Why?" And he took out a Xanax. He was like, "Xanax." He was like, "I don't care what your name is. I'm fair." Good.
Strangers.
Yeah. And he said, "I'm not," but he did. Then he said, "You know, it was great." He goes, "I'm not going to eat my dinner. You want it?" I go, "Yeah." So
it doesn't make somebody think that's blue collar. He's like, "Yeah, sure, man."
Yeah, we had a good time, man. But I, for sure, dosed myself up a little high, a little heavier than I should have, because every 2 minutes it was like, "Boom, any more Pringles? Boom, do you get any more of those M&Ms?"
Right.
And it was. They finally just dropped a couple of. They were like, "Here's this." And this is embarrassing for all of us.
Hey, hi, guy.
Yeah. But you know what I don't do on planes? Never go to the bathroom.
Okay.
I take a window seat. I don't like getting up. I don't go pee. People who drop the deuce on a plane are doing it wrong.
We really can't hang out much. Like, there's not much we're gonna have to talk about because you've now made that choice, and your selfish attitude
Has ruined it for the rest of us.
Literally permeating throughout the plane.
Yeah. You've ruined it for the rest of us.
That's too bad.
Yeah, and I feel like when you do that, you're basically saying, I don't care about anybody else.
You absolutely are. It's a shame.
It's a shame. And you know, when you walk out of that bathroom on the plane and there's like a line of 10 people, don't walk past like you don't know what we're all looking at you
right.
for.
Own it.
Own it. Leave the door open.
Yes.
Come out with some toilet paper on your shoe.
Thank you.
Yeah, and be like, yeah, don't eat the chicken. Like, that is what you...
Yeah, you have to. You just jump right into it. God dang, man.
I do, though, people are getting more and more comfortable on planes. There are a lot of people taking their shoes off now. It's just...
It's a gross place
shit
to be.
show.
Yeah, and you have to do it every weekend, but you're paring it down. So that's good.
I need to pare it down. I want to pare it down. I love what I'm doing with Freddie. I can't say what we're doing, but we're starting something that... I think within 3 weeks we'll be able to mention it. That is going to be. It could just be just the.
This
best,
is it.
The
like,
best thing. And
are we talking like it could be a main source of income?
Yes, the source of income.
That's where you go.
This
because you love it.
I love it, man, and I love it. And there's a lot of different possibilities that could happen from this one thing. I can't say what it is, but like, if I could get my touring down to once a month and pick the cities, I'm in.
Well, then you're talking maybe, and I'm assuming just whatever model you take, then you get into, well, now we can do live shows at a theater and you're not grinding the stand-up game.
Right. So you do once a month, you pick the cities, and you do your 2-year loop. So you pick 24 cities in the country.
Yep.
And then you do your loop, and you take 6 months off, and then you hit your loop again. That's what
Helium's over here like, stay on the fucking schedule, bro.
That's what we want. St. Louis is in the 24 cities.
Yes, it is.
And
It
so is
absolutely
Boise,
is.
apparently.
Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah.
How did we go from that's where you're filming your special to where we are now? I like that. That means we're having a good time.
But that's how you do it. That's how you're supposed to. You know
Right.
what I do also like about sitting down with you is that you didn't give me a list and say, here are the things that if you want to talk about, here's what, like that.
Fuck that.
That kind of
What?
shit.
I own my own shit, man. I'm not here to do that.
A
Fuck
lot
that.
of people do that, though, man.
Why?
I don't know. It's interesting. Those shows, here's what I like about you and shows like this. So we're going to find funny. Funny's going to happen.
Yep.
But you're not forcing it.
There's no. I don't think you have that capability to match someone doing that because
Yes.
you're doing it. That's not me, and I'm not going to come with canned material with someone who's going to be infinitely more talented than me at that medium. Does that make sense?
I do understand what you're saying. I think you're right. But no, I'm just kidding.
No, I mean
No,
that.
but it's
where
interesting.
Like, that's okay, and I'm not because there is an art form to radio and that
Sure.
style, and you have to come up to breaks and those things, and it's essential. I get it, but there is this other thing that we can do now, and I find that so much more rewarding too. Our radio show is kind of like that too, but at the same time, you
like
can't
doing
beat
this?
this. Love it. Yeah,
This is your favorite thing?
yeah. Live is fun. I got a really cool intro to live podcasts. Quick. I fucking talk about it too much because we don't do. So we've only been doing this for 2 years, right? Got into this. I was like, fuck, I could do this radio stuff. Carolla came here and did the pageant, which is a big theater. My first time live on stage was in front of 2,000 people with a guy who I've been listening to since I was like 12.
You told me this when we talked on the phone.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. And I mentioned it, but that in itself, where you're like, you do the math, like, oh, he's bringing home like whatever he's bringing home that night. And you're like, wait a second. And he's told a few people to fuck off who've tried to get him back into like the fold. You can own your own thing and you talk for a living. You got to work really hard if you want to do it right.
Yeah.
If you're in St. Louis and trying to do radio, stuff like that. But yeah, absolutely. The live stuff is super fun, but it sucks because that's probably the most rewarding, but that takes a back seat to business and sales meetings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like literally, if you're waking up at 4:30, like I'm not going to go do open mics all night or we're not going to schedule. So yes, this is the best thing I could do for sure.
But when you did that show live, I've never seen his show live. Was it like you sat on a panel and everybody took turns talking, or
It's a unique thing. I've heard really good stand-ups suck dick on it, and I thought we did a really good job because we know the game. It's his thing. He's driving force. You kind of yes and you do it. He literally does a live podcast, but a lot of it's him bullshitting. Almost dropped a water.
So good.
A lot of it's him bullshitting and then you chiming in and having fun. It's not really, there's no material. We walked out. We didn't do a pre-show meeting. It was like, hey, what's going on? And we walked out on stage.
How did you get that gig?
Had him on our show. I'm a huge fan and had him on our show. Had his manager dying in the car. While he's in the car, I got an email as soon as he hung up. And this is when we were like an evening radio show, but we weren't even mornings at this time. His manager, Mike August, was dying laughing because I made fun of him for an email exchange. It was like, hey, way to be a dickhead over the email or whatever. He's laughing. I got an email immediately after they hung up. He's like, hey, we're doing a live show in St. Louis. Why don't you guys be the guest? Obviously, he's his own draw, so you don't have to have a big name. And I was like, oh, cool. Yeah, like you guys want to we want us to promote it? And he's like, no, you guys are the guests. Like, come on.
Who
you
else
guys
was
be
the
that.
guest?
Us.
No.
It was Adam Carolla, Gina Grad, and Bald Bryan. They do the podcast together. And then us. That was it. That's the beauty of not needing support on a big show, too.
Yeah.
You just throw that out. Yeah. And then that worked out, and we've been to LA and been on his show and stuff, too.
That's amazing.
It is. It's a cool thing. And there's only a certain amount of people, because I can wax on about it all for days, but somebody like you that knows what that means and everything, it is a really unique thing, isn't it? Like, that's weird that it happened.
Yeah, man. But I'm also going back to Adam. That's a cool thing for him to do for you guys.
Taking a chance. We could have sucked. We could have been real bad. I think that doesn't matter with him, too.
Not as much.
Right.
But also like a really cool thing. And so how did that change your trajectory? Did it here?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And then especially going out there. And then, so that was like however many millions of people hear that. It was a live podcast.
Right.
So it went out. And then him making himself available to be a guest anytime we need. And then having us there. And then we got to do Joe Coy's show.
Yeah.
That was awesome. But I think just like strict numbers, like we don't have huge social media numbers, but they definitely like doubled when we were on his show, which was great. Yeah. Which is huge. Gives you a little credibility too whenever you do that. So
that's a huge thing, right? Because
very reassuring event for sure. Because you're like, well, if he says we're okay, well then
that we're doing something right.
Sure, absolutely. Because he enjoyed it and gave us the come on anytime.
And he's not an easy guy.
No, he's not. Treats us so good.
He had me on the show once.
I was gonna say I haven't seen you back. What? Was there? I don't think it's anything personal or at all. And I bet if you wanted to go back on, they'd be like, yeah, come back.
I think.
How did it go for you?
I don't think it went that well. I think a couple times, like, so they booked me, but it was also the final taping of Chelsea. And I was like, the last episode, not the live, but the last episode.
Yeah.
And I was on it. And I was like, I'm going to be a little late.
Yeah.
And
they were not.
I don't
Did you tell them when they booked it?
Yeah, I think that's how it went down.
They were
and
not,
then when I got on the show,
they're on such a scale. I know exactly what you're talking about.
And then when I got on the show, like, he was fantastic and nice and funny, but I wasn't that funny. I honestly.
Do you feel like 99% of your? I can speak to it as a guy who you didn't know who the fuck you were talking. I had a great 15-minute conversation with you on the phone.
Yeah.
As it's like, I'm like, wow, that was fun. You mentioned it, whatever. Do you feel like, I bet most, or if not near all, of your appearances in a situation like that are good to very good?
I'm generally, okay. So now I will say, this is around the witching hour in the morning for me. Because when I get up at 6, I got a good 4 hours of energy. Right? I'm ready to rock and roll. Because I got in late. I was super high, but I can get my energy up 4 hours. Let's pack it all in with these 4 hours. Because right around 10, I start to go, what? I'm getting a little sleepy. Right?
Right.
So but generally because I like doing this and I like talking to new people.
It's obvious.
And I love all that shit. So generally they go pretty well. And I know what I do well in this business, and I know what I don't do well.
Right.
And this kind of stuff, in the morning radio, I like talking to people.
Yeah, if you're on Fighter and the Kid, I make sure to.
Yeah, man.
You can't. There's so many great podcasts out there. If I see you on there, I'm gonna listen to that one.
Right, because we have a good time, we fuck around.
For sure.
So I walked in, and I was like, oh, this is my guy, man. I listen to Adam, and we have a lot of the same point of views.
Sure.
And I got on there, and I just threw a couple out there, and I just swung and missed. You know, it was just one of those. I'm not going to lie to you where I'm like, I don't know why. I crushed it.
Just wasn't feeling it. You should go back.
I would love to go back.
Yeah.
I don't know if his people listen to the show. They're definitely not listening to the one
They'll
I'm on.
accept an email. let me broker that. You know what, man?
I would love to go back on and try and
hey,
just
it's
say
that
to
dude
him,
from St. Louis. Have Josh Wolf back on.
Yeah, man. I would love to go back on and have just a second chance to be like, listen, how bad was it? Be honest with me.
They won't even remember, and they'll just be they'll just be full steam ahead.
Really, they won't remember.
Swear, unless you like a dick.
I didn't. That's not
no way.
And I didn't offend anybody. And
they literally won't remember.
Then I got a call.
Do it.
What's the producer's name? Mike?
Mike August Books. He's like a business partner.
That's who I got to. Because I think the last time I reached out to Mike, I think the response I got was no response. So I think
I'm the Midwest Carolla representative over here.
I think if I'm remembering correctly, I was like, hey man, had a great time last time I was on, and I think he could feel the lack of confidence when I said that. Had a great time, and then I said,
"This is some behind the scenes shit, man.
Would love to get back on the show." And then I think, instead of go fuck yourself, I think he just decided not to say.
It was like a mercy, like just let him fade away.
And
it's like I'm not gonna feed the dog.
Yeah,
and maybe someone will save it. But if it dies, it dies.
If it's Drago.
Right.
If it dies. And I like I said, this is not them. I'm not knocking them.
No.
I blame that appearance on myself. What is that t-shirt?
Sturgill Simpson.
That's what I thought. I'm
Yeah, saw him. He was here a couple weeks ago.
huge Sturgill.
How is, you know what? I talked to his publicist, and I was almost like, so again, spoiled. I have accessible heroes, right? So I always say this. Carolla, great. He's been a hero, whatever. I meet a ton of awesome comics. I've been so lucky to meet some great people. I was kind of worried about this, but I was like, fuck it. I want the interview. We'll do it. Let's see it. He was at a theater here recently. I've heard him on Rogan. He can talk. That's fine. I was worried after talking to a few people that it may be quite disappointing if I sat down with him. Mm-hmm. I talked to his publicist, and so understandably, she was so nice, but she was like, to be honest, he's doing zero press. He's super focused on this. Send me your stuff. We'll see. He's like, I'll give it a whirl, which is awesome. Yeah. That's so nice. Ended up not doing it. Had a blast of the show. And then I talked to a few people, and a few people are like, that have dealt with him before. And I say dealt with him in a business sense, not like that. And nothing terrible, but like, yeah,
he's an
have Wheeler Walker on.
Yeah.
Like, that's fun.
Yeah.
Like,
Sturgill is very specific. No, I've never met him, and I
was curious. Yeah,
I've never met him. I saw him twice back to back in L.A. at the Acme Hotel, and he blew the fucking roof off of that place.
Would you put that SNL when he did Call to Arms on SNL? Like, again, super fan, whatever. That's like up there. Like, that was like one of the most exciting performances ever.
I'm going to ask you a question. Because I go see a lot of different concerts now. I didn't used to, but I do now. And I try to tell people all the time, hey, if you've never seen Zac Brown live, you should go. It's not a country concert. It's just a great show.
Sure.
And they play cover of Metallica, and they play Nirvana covers, but they also play country. Like, you'll hear a little bit of everything. Zach put out an EDM album last year.
Oh, really?
So the band is called Sir Roosevelt.
That's wild.
If you've watched football on Sundays, you've heard Sir Roosevelt. Because the last year, either Fox or CBS, I think it was Fox, put on your Sunday finest and party like it's Saturday night. That's them.
No shit.
Right? Okay, so Sturgill I was not expecting that concert.
Man, did he have the horns whenever he was with you?
So he had a couple, but not this tour, I hear. Saddled up with those horns.
No horns.
No horns?
No, he dumped them all.
Oh,
it was a four-piece. It was a four-piece band in a theater, in a big-ass theater.
He was, and that guitar player is through the roof, next level, amazing. But what stunned me about watching him, and I brought my brother who had never heard him before.
Yeah,
and said that was one of the best concerts I've ever seen. They give 120%.
I love their that bass player.
Crushing
it. I should not be paying attention to the like husky guy,
right?
Like bobbing his head.
Come on,
I do.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But
and then he's got one of the Ramones playing keys.
What stunned me, he didn't speak to the audience.
Not one drop. Like usually you have a couple canned jokes or like it's been a rough week. We were in Seattle yesterday, right?
Or
nothing.
Hey everybody, thanks for coming out. How about we start with that one? I'm Sturgill Simpson. How about one of those? Nothing. The first thing he said to the audience during our show was, "Let me introduce my band."
Yeah,
and that was 40 minutes in, and then somebody screamed, "We love you, Sturgill!" And one of his band members said, "Say we love you," and he goes, "We love you too."
Are you serious? I mean,
it was amazing. Now. I'm not knocking that. I had just
I get it.
Never seen as a performer.
Right.
You're not interacting with the crowd.
Nothing. No
all?
points. Like nothing.
Nothing.
No points to nowhere.
No pointing up in the crowd. Nothing like I wrote this one. None of this speaking. None of the nothing. So good.
It tells me why he was probably a decent railroad worker. Like.
And why you might not want to interview him.
Right, yeah, exactly.
He didn't want to talk to you.
It's like, I'm not Joe Rogan, and I don't have psychedelic drugs to talk to you about. Like, that's what...
I would love to talk about psychedelic drugs if you want to talk about them.
I'm a zero. I'm an ofer. Never once. I would totally go for...
Why?
No, I don't know. No drive to? I don't know.
Yeah, I just want to tell you.
For sure could with like a text message, but yeah.
The mushrooms, and this is all I would say. If you've never taken mushrooms... I'm speaking to everybody.
That's right.
If you've never taken mushrooms, you should. You should at least open your brain up once in your life.
Do you tap into nature? Do you go out in the woods and do it? Or do you just do it in a controlled, safe environment?
Well, your first time, I would definitely not go to an
Let's not
AC/DC
go to
concert. You know what I mean? I would definitely be in a
Right.
controlled environment, people you know.
Right.
Whether it's outside probably better. I would say outside with 3 close friends. And if you're really scared, one maybe who's not taking mushrooms.
Right.
But
Make sure that in the event that there's anything weird that you can physically dominate those
otherwise
friends
known as the
well.
driver.
Right.
We need one person just in case
Right.
there's a fucking complete flip out.
Push
We
it
need-
along.
Yeah, someone to be able to get in the car and drive somebody home. So, but you have to open up your brain. The last time I took him probably 9 months ago at a concert called, it was Old Cella. It was Coachella for old people.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
And so I took mushrooms the entire weekend. And it was the best time of my life. But guys, it opens your brain up. You're not the same afterwards, and not in a negative way. I just do it. That's all. You know what? Everybody come down to the show.
That's right.
Late show Saturday.
Helium late show.
Late show Saturday. Everybody come down. I don't know who you are, but I know you're listening and you have mushrooms. Bring
Most of
them.
you are in St. Louis.
Bring
That's right.
them. We're going to lock the door. We're in a basement. We're going to lock the fucking door.
This is a listener test. This is Josh seeing our listener reach.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, if 5 fucking weird dudes don't show up with mushrooms,
I'm going to go ahead and throw this in there. Don't be a pussy.
don't be.
Come down with some mushrooms. And it's going to be a good time. We're going to see what happens. And
There we go.
Yeah. And I can't guarantee what's going to happen, but I can guarantee you're going to have a good time.
It's gonna enjoy it. It'll be a hell of a show.
You coming?
Yes, I'm gonna stop by.
For
Do
the
you mind?
mushrooms?
For the mushrooms? Now we gotta figure that out. Like that. Like I don't know if a Helium Comedy Club needs my big ass for the first time.
I think maybe we do.
Okay, so now I'm being called out
It's
on the
going
show.
to be your I'm a golden god moment. And I'm on drugs. Yeah.
That's right. Take that, Dad. Oh my God, let's do it. So before we get out of here, I wanted to say this. I'm a fan of Sarah Tiana's.
Love her.
She's great. She's very funny.
She and I just shot a pilot together.
I thought that you guys were doing something together, and then are you on the? Is there? You're not on. Are you on the Netflix special right now?
Not
with
the
her?
country one.
The country one. You're
no.
not. Well, just country. I just assumed
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
You're Mr.
yeah,
Country.
yeah, I get it.
No. Were you in Boston for that bullshit with Gronk?
I put that together.
You were quoted. Yes, that's right. I knew that.
I said
It was
the
such a
roast,
blip. It was gone immediately because it was such horseshit.
I set that.
I wanna
roast
bring it
up.
back up.
I'm the one who called David and was like, "Hey man, how about we raise some real money? Those galas are boring as fuck." And he
Yeah.
said, "Let's do it." And I said, "You know, you're going to be made fun of."
And who was the
With David Ortiz, Big
David
Papa.
Ortiz?
I said,
Look at that. Don't just slide in.
I said,
called
you know,
David.
I said,
I
you know
called
you're
David. Said, come on.
I've worked with a charity.
Big time.
No. I've worked
Sure,
with
sure.
his charity for a long time, and so he's
Yeah,
does
fuck
great
the Red Sox, by the way.
things.
They have just, owned the Cardinals, man. Fucking, it's so
Do you want
rough.
to talk about that?
Let's get to this real quick, and then we will.
Okay, just let me know if you ever want to go back to 2004. And
I'm
just
good
reminisce.
at the moment.
You
Yeah.
sure?
Fuck Drew Barrymore on that.
Drew
You know?
Barrymore.
Yeah. Fever pitch.
Oh wow, we went
dancing.
deep.
Dancing on the outfield. I don't
Can't
think
believe
so.
you went deep to
Yeah.
fuck Drew Barrymore.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I'll say it again.
That's a deep cut.
Fuck her.
Oh my god. You know
Yeah.
who I say? Fuck Bob Dylan. That's my guy. I hate that dude. Fuck Bob Dylan.
Needed to be said.
The most
How's Bob Dylan going to outlive Tom Petty?
the most overrated artist in the history of artists.
I'm going to give you that. I'm going to give you a real big thumbs up on
This
that.
isn't saying, guys, for those of you Bob Dylan fans who just jumped out of your rocking chair to really get mad. I'm not saying he's not a talented guy.
Sure.
I'm saying he's the most overrated ever. Ever. Take his lyrics and the fact he's like a poet. Genuine. But just listen to his music and his voice. His voice makes me want to punch a baby in the mouth.
Right. Again.
The only voice worse than his is that if you put on Rush, I would throw you out that window. I would throw you out the fucking.
No Rush
What's
in
his
here
name?
today.
Geddy Lee.
Yes.
That voice.
Would you whoop his ass if you could?
That voice has started a war before. I'm sure.
Surely
I'm
has.
sure somebody put on Rush and they're like, "We're going to war." Like that's the worst voice
Right.
of all time. Yeah.
So you call up Dave.
Oh,
D, as you
I
call
call
him.
up David, and I say, hey, what do you think? He said, yeah. I go, they're going to make fun of you. And his wife really helped me kind of massage
Yeah.
it.
Is that, that could be different. Big time athlete, not like it's fun, like getting ribbed by your buddies, but like pros carving
Right.
you up. That's a different story.
So I'm on stage with a guy. The dais was Gronk, Dustin Pedroia, Anthony Mackie, Sarah Tiana, Lenny Clark, Jonathan Coachman, me. Am I missing anybody? Adam Ray, who's a comic, but Adam went on stage when he asked me, because when I was booking it, he was like, I would love to do it. Oh, Bill Burr. Can't forget about Burr.
Yeah.
Who closed it and was so funny. But Adam Ray went on stage as was prosthetics, dressed up as an old Yankee fan.
Yeah.
When he got on stage, people were like, who is this old? They were mad at him. I was like, that's Adam Ray. And they were like, what? The prosthetics were so good.
That's awesome.
But Dustin Pedroia sitting next to me. And he had the best set of the night. Pedroia did. The only standing O. But he was getting...
Who wrote for Pedroia?
Nobody. He just told stories.
Okay. All right.
And crushed with this. Dude,
Good for him.
crushed.
Good
the
for
only
him.
standing over the night. So, but he's sitting next to me. I go, hey man, just so you know, you're gonna get made fun of. And he goes, no, I've been made fun of my whole life. I go, by comics
Yeah.
or by athletes?
Right.
And he goes, by guys in the dugout. I'm like, that's not gonna be the same
Yeah.
thing.
We're not going to tell you, like, is your pussy hurt?
Yeah,
Like,
I
what-
said it, and he said, yeah, but the other athletes, I go, we wrote jokes for them. So you're about to hear, there's 9 people on here who are about to fucking hammer you. You
Yeah.
get that, right? He goes, I got it. We're midway through, and maybe Tiana. And Tiana has zero filter,
Right.
and said some of the, without a doubt, said the darkest things that night.
Of course.
Gronk's was the nicest. Gronk opened with a joke about taking a shit on my wife's chest.
Good.
He goes.
Good.
He opened with. He goes. Josh Wolf's up here talking a lot of shit. I'm like, huh. And he goes. I met his wife backstage. And I go, oh yeah. And he goes, you know what a Cleveland steamer is? I go, yeah, I know what it is. And he goes, let me tell you. I go, no, you don't have to tell me. I know what it is. He goes, I met her backstage. I shit on her chest. Fucked the shit between her tits. That's a Cleveland steamer. And I was like, good. I was like, yeah, it's not as much of a joke as a call to action. You know what I mean?
Right,
Not a great
yeah.
punchline. But Gronk caught too much shit. Gronk was funny. He and his guys wrote his jokes. He caught a lot of shit just because he was Gronk. And
Right.
that is a headline grabber more than me.
For sure. And I don't know if that's just one journalist trying to get some clicks.
It was a couple. I
Yeah.
clapped back at all of them.
I saw you doing that, and I was like, thank God. I almost sent out a thing to Sarah Tiana to have her, and then I was like, no, I don't want to perpetuate this stupid shit. And it went away immediately,
Yeah,
too.
and I just kept saying, it's a roast. And some people were there like, we were offended. I'm like, what part of roast didn't you understand?
Right.
They were like, well, we thought roast, but not like this. I'm like, well, what?
You don't get to set the guidelines.
No, roast. No holds barred. We told everybody up front before the roast started when the guy went up. Guys, everybody know if you're a fan of, this is not your show. Jonathan Coachman, who hosted the event. Everybody knows this is not going to be, and still people get, and my thing is, if you come to a comedy show and you get offended, that's your fucking fault.
I cannot agree more with that. It bothers me
2017.
so much. Yeah.
As you're walking in, even if you've never seen the person who's about to be on stage, Google it. They're going to show you the first clip. Do you like that?
Something.
Then,
yeah.
then get the fuck out. You if you don't like it. But don't tell me you're offended. Drives me bananas, man.
I don't know, and you don't see it as much. I think, especially Helium here in town, does a great job policing. I don't even know if you call it that. I just don't. It floors me to think like, number one, it's unique when people are just like, we're going to see comedy, and it's not based on a name.
Yep.
But there are people that do that. There's a lot of people that do that.
Yeah, there definitely is.
But it's so odd to me where it's like, how do you not get that this is a performance that you are not in charge of? Like, take the feelings, everything else. Why?
It's also
Are you going to tell like a pilot, I don't care for the way you're driving, like flying this plane?
yeah, because some things are oddly personal to people. And I also
Narcissistic. I mean, just seriously, like, how dare you? Like, but that wasn't for you.
at all. It's also like I do not subscribe to the idea of being offended by one thing. Either you're offended by everything for everybody, or you're not allowed to be offended. So if you think black jokes are funny, but you can't stand the
Trump jokes or something.
Yeah, there was I used to tell a bulimia joke. And this woman loved my whole set, but she was so mad after the show. I used to be bulimic. It's not right. I'm like, what about everybody else I made fun of?
Right.
Everybody else I made fun of, and she was like, "Well, those were funny." I'm like, "But that you can't."
What about all the rabbis and priests that were walking into bars?
You can't pick the only thing you're not going to laugh at is yourself. It has to start with you. And if you're not allowed to laugh at you, if you can't laugh at yourself, then you can't laugh at anybody else. And so I don't subscribe to that. If you're getting offended, there's no such thing as too soon. Was the joke funny? Now, I wait a beat sometimes.
Perfectly fine.
That's
Sure.
my style. If you don't want to, if you're Jim Norton and you want to say whatever you want whenever,
You better bring the talent level he brings.
Yes.
Right?
but don't follow Jim Norton and then tweet him that you're offended. That's your fucking fault. You're wasting. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So
absolutely.
I love doing stand up because for me it's the last bastion of free speech.
Yeah.
And just come in and have a good time, everybody. This weekend.
Right.
And now my shows, you won't get really offended. My shows are, I tell everybody at the top of every one of my shows, I hope you didn't come here to learn anything. That's not, put your thesaurus away.
Right.
This is not Dennis Miller's show. We're going to have a good time. And that's it. I try for an hour of fun, basically.
And I completely see that with your personality coming out too, where it's just like, we're here, we're going to make the most of it, and I'm really good at this. Just sit back. Stories.
You're going to hear stories. And at the end of my set, you're going to hear 2 or 3 songs. Now, whenever I bring that guitar on stage, people are like, a fucking guitar comic. I'm not a guitar comic. I promise you.
Take it easy, Bob Saget.
Yeah, I promise you. Even the people who are like, I fucking hate guitar comics. These last 3 songs that I do in my set, if you hate them, I won't do anything. But if you,
that's right.
you can hate them.
I ain't gonna say
but,
shit. Yeah.
I promise you won't. And you know, every now and then some weird things happen. Jewel has hopped on stage with me, and we've improv some songs.
That's fantastic.
Last weekend, a band that tours the Midwest here called Hero Jr.
Okay.
They got on stage with me and Dean Del Rey, and we sang
Dean Del Rey too, huh?
We just sang Simple Man.
That's great.
It was great. I think Saturday Late Show,
Nelly.
Mushrooms. No, I think maybe we'll do a little Tom Petty.
Tom Petty, he can't come.
No, he's not
going to show up.
Sing some Tom Petty.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's not coming to the show.
Let me know if you want a horn section. I'll send them your way. There's some good locals here.
What do you play? Do you play horns?
No. I'll make them come to you.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but I mean, I can grab a horn. You just want me up there.
How are you with tambourine?
A great tambourine. Mean tambourine.
Best. Tambourine. And then maybe
My first album.
We'll see how that mushroom hits you with the tambourine.
I think that's a good move, too.
I'm not going to lie to you. Tambourine for your first mushroom trip is not a terrible idea.
I want to go ahead and say that it's a necessity.
We're going to see Saturday night in the basement of Helium.
That's right. And you know what? I'm going to hook Josh up. That's a good note to end on. Barrel, beard, and tattoo oil. We're going to send you out. You're going to be smelling like cookies, man. It's a vanilla flavor. I say flavor. It's good stuff. Great sponsors.
Your beer's shiny. It looks great.
Isn't it? Yeah. I trimmed it recently, and I'm still happy with it.
Yeah. I trim mine, too, for the flight.
You have a nice beard.
I appreciate it, but mine doesn't connect as well.
Yeah.
You have like a full man beard.
It's just my fat face makes it look more full.
That's an interesting theory.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you went thin face?
I don't know how it would look. I think I'd look maybe more Southeast Missouri than I'd like.
I do think you owe it to your fans
mm-hmm.
to post a picture of young you next to young Freddie Prinze Jr.
I will make that happen. I'll even tag you in it.
Will you send it? Yeah, I really.
Well, yeah, I think I'm proud. Yeah, I was like, yeah. I'll make that happen.
I've had people say, "Oh, my brother looks just like you," and they send me a picture. I'm like, I fucking hope not. Holy shit!
Yeah.
That's what you think I look like? Okay,
right. That's your opinion of me.
So I'm dying to know. But yeah, let's see.
We'll see. We'll get the official word.
I mean, you should be able to dig up one that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Parents on standby. Senior picture, please.
And which Freddie Prinze? Like Summer Catch Freddie Prinze?
Yeah, absolutely. More of an athletic build to it, right?
Okay.
At the time, yeah. The one, like when I had abs for like 6 months. Yeah.
That was a great 6 months.
It was. It was a fruitful 6 months.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine. This is so bad. Maybe I shouldn't say it.
You do your thing.
No. Okay. He used to say the only time he ever used to finish on himself was when he had abs. I was like, that's so gross, dude. He was like, no, I love to just finish right on my stomach. I'm like,
Oh, man.
like, why would you do that? He was like, just looking at I'm like, but are you jerking off to yourself at this point? Like, you finish on your own.
Do you always tell Dane Cook stories on other people's podcasts? Thanks, Josh.